All right. So very good. So I am here with Zita, and we are going to share a little bit of Zita's secrets to her health and fitness transformation. And so maybe you have, maybe you haven't seen Zita's transformation. So let me give you a quick photo of that here. Oh, popped off my screen, of course. There we go. So Zita, so Zita in 1 year hit a milestone of 75 pounds. And obviously there was a lot of small milestones along the way. So we're going to take a little journey right now through her journey and hear what was her secret to success. So let me start by asking Zita, what was your life like before you started your journey? What did that look like?
So basically the before, super self-conscious, pretty much at rock bottom, feeling, sad, depressed, low confidence. As far as my full story, I'm not sure how much you know about this, but basically I had lost weight before, about 100 pounds. I went from 230 to 130, and I actually maintained that for about like 2.5 years. And kind of during that time, one of the things that really kind of bumped me back and kind of, got me off that horse was setting goals that weren't realistic for myself. And a lot of that is like intrinsic, like competition. I'm super competitive, and that can be a great thing. It can also be a really bad thing if you're not setting realistic goals. So during that time, I was running, doing 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, full marathons. And at first they were good goals. I'm like, well, I did a 5K, let's do a 10K, did a 10K, let's do a half marathon, so on and so forth. But eventually that became, I'm not PRing in every race. I'm not PRing by 30 seconds, 5 seconds. And for people who do that like competitively, to PR by 5 seconds is in and of itself a huge accomplishment. But I still expected that of myself, right? And I wasn't even training for it. So that kind of burned me out. I stopped running, kind of moved more towards lifting weights, things like that. And kind of right around that time, I also was going to grad school. So I was, working part-time, going to school part-time. And then I graduated and then moved to working full-time. So also that life transition, trying to figure out how to balance that all, how to fit that in, was also a struggle. And then the other thing was kind of what my image I thought of myself when I would reach my goal didn't align with what it actually was. So not realizing, like, when you're losing a lot of weight, especially as someone who's bigger like myself, you're going to have loose skin. And I remember thinking to myself as I approached my end weight goal, and also even when I hit that goal, I'm like, well, wait a minute, this is not how I thought I would look. You can get rid of your baggy clothes, but you can't, I mean, you can, but it's not like getting rid of a big t-shirt. You can't just get rid of your skin easily, like that. So really, it was kind of a perfect storm of all those things. And before I knew it, I had, slowly gained all the way back, and then ended up the heavy side bin pretty much my whole entire life. Really the catalyst for all of this, I went to the doctor because I was having some irregularities with my period, my cycle, things like that. And I wanted to get that checked out. And during this time, I had been actively avoiding the scale because I knew if I stepped on, I was going to be super upset. So I'm like, well, I can just avoid that. I don't have to get on, right? Well, when you go to the doctor, they always weigh you and take your height and all these measurements and whatnot. And they brought me back, and the doctor was like, well, you weigh, Zita, like, you weigh 297 pounds. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I was floored. And I started crying, and she's like awkwardly like handing me tissues and like, please stop crying. And I remember I went out to my car after the appointment was over, and I kind of felt bad for myself for a second. And then I realized, like, I'm at a fork in my life right now. Like, I know things have gotten way out of control, and I can either keep feeling sorry for myself and just keep, down this path, and things are going to get worse, or I can make a change. And there's no better place to start than right now. So that was the first thing I did. And the second thing I did was I texted my friend Hannah, because she had been going to Summers, and I, saw her post about things. I'm like, so tell me about this gym you're going to. And the rest, they say, is kind of history.
Awesome. Wow. Okay. So just to recap real quick,
Mhm.
you had lost over 100 pounds, and you had
Mhm.
done that through what might be considered some excessive, or as you said, not realistic. You couldn't maintain
Right.
all that running, all that
Mhm.
exercise. And what you found is that in your mind, it was always what's next, what's next. I got to keep doing more, 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 more. And it got to a point that you felt burnout because you were doing all that.
Mhm.
And then when you didn't have the time in your schedule to spend hours exercising, doing all that running, work, like you said, changed your whole mental, all that weight started
Mhm.
gaining back on. Okay, so I'm
Right.
so glad you shared that because that's really important, right? Because that is a
Mhm.
cycle that we see. But you
Mhm.
said something key is then when you went to the doctor, that was kind of the trigger point, and you just had to make a decision. You're like, I have a
Right.
decision to make. I'm
Mhm.
either going to continue being miserable, have health problem, what else things could look like, or I have a
Mhm.
decision to get started. So you obviously made that decision a
Right.
year ago, and we're so
Mhm.
glad that you trusted in your friend's recommendation. So tell me just a little bit, and obviously we just talked about this a minute ago, but what did it look like when you first started the fitness? Because like you said, you were up to 297 pounds, we're
Mhm.
in the same, physical condition as before. Did you just dive in and start doing all of our sessions, or what was the program that we had you start with to
Mhm.
restart?
So basically I started out doing one-on-ones, so like the single personal training. And I did that about 3 days a week. And I slowly kind of ramped that up over time when I was feeling comfortable, not feeling as sore after sessions, things like that.
Awesome. Okay. So you started slow, you started
Mhm.
realistic. And obviously, our concept is the 30-minute session. So you were able to find, like, okay, I can do 30-minute sessions 3 times a week. This fits my busy life, my busy schedule. And by doing those one on ones, you recognized I need to lay a safe, effective foundation for me, my body, my mind, right? Like start slow
Mhm.
and keep going. Awesome. So share with us, and we'll fast forward to some of the other things here in a little bit, but share with us, what does life look like for you now? I mean, you said you were at rock bottom
Mhm.
before.
Yeah.
So what does life look like for you now, physically, mentally, even in your career and your family life?
Basically, it's a complete 180. I sometimes joke, I feel like I'm having an out-of-body experience because the change has just been so drastic. There were things before that I didn't realize had gotten like as hard as they were. Just simple things like just going for a walk or traveling or, pulling weeds in my garden, even like going upstairs. I actually like, we have a downstairs at my work and where our kitchenette is. And I was walking back upstairs after I heated up my lunch and went back to my desk. And I'm like, I sat down and I'm like, like 5 months ago, I would be like gasping for air. And now it's just like, and that's the way it should be. You should be able to walk upstairs and not feel like you're dying. And it's really just been things like that. I was so afraid before to like go to like amusement parks, go to Cedar Point because I knew I wouldn't fit and things like that. Traveling, I didn't want to be like the big person on the airplane who's like in your seat. Like I didn't want to do that. So now kind of like being able to live my life like someone who's 30, 31 should be able to do. It just feels great.
Awesome. Uh-oh, hopefully she didn't freeze up on us here. I'm going to go ahead and screen share her transformation again if you're just catching us. There we go. So Zita has lost 75 pounds in 1 year, and obviously lots of other inches and body fats and all sorts of things during that time. And as she said, just the change of being able to experience life to its fullest. So you can see right there, her clothes fit differently. And I'm assuming before the smile on her face was probably maybe a forced smile,
Yeah.
right? We get really good at doing that, walking around, going through the motions and pretending that we're happy. So let me flip it back here. It looks like hopefully she's back and then unfrozen. You froze up for a minute. So tell us,
Oh yeah, my internet's so bad up here.
so you've lost 75 pounds. What other type of results, either at the doctor's office or inches or clothes, would you like to share with us?
Yeah, so I think I froze up during this time with my internet kind of being kind of wonky. But yeah, I'm down like 4 or 5 pant sizes. Inches wise, I forgot to write down my last assessment, but at least 50 total. I mean, all around, I feel it in my waist, my arms, hips, everything. And of course, smaller clothing sizes. So shopping's fun again too, which is awesome. So yeah.
Well, good. Okay. And so obviously you mentioned before, like when you were, running the marathons, it was always like, what's next? What's next? And you were really
Mhm.
never satisfied. So
Right.
what kind of made this time different, that you weren't putting that pressure on yourself and that you were satisfied with doing 30-minute workouts?
Mhm. I think for me, it was after I weighed in for the first time and saw that it was working and saw that I had lost the weight and I have felt myself getting stronger also. So there was a point I realized, like, 2 months ago, I was taking breaks and now I'm kind of able to, sustain this more. And that's when I kind of realized, I might be onto something here. Maybe this is going to be the thing that works out for me. And I think that's really what it is, when it comes to your fitness journey, whatever you're trying to do, finding something that you can sustain and more importantly, I think enjoy, that you can do that for the long term. And that's what this has been for me.
Awesome. You said it there. Okay. So sustain. Does
Mhm.
this fit my lifestyle? Can I keep doing it when life gets tough, when work gets harder, right? Or whatever's happening. So
Mhm.
3 days a week, 30 minutes, you're like, okay. And you said you recognize that within the 30 minutes, how your challenges, how you felt differently strength wise, right? Or respiratory wise, right? Like all the changes within that time frame. So you recognize you didn't need to be adding on a bunch of other
Right.
stuff. And so you also then said enjoy. You now enjoyed it. I'm
Mhm.
assuming it's because our workouts are fun. The coaches keep
Mhm.
it fun. So we went through some one-on-one training, and then over time you decided to upgrade. And I think you did like some small group training and the boot camp training and so forth. So would you say that now you like approach fitness as you're kind of like hooked, you love it, it's like part of
Yeah.
your life? Like tell us a little
Yeah.
bit about the mindset of it too.
I honestly, like, when I first started, I was really nervous about coming in and kind of restarting this whole thing. But now I really do enjoy and look forward to my gym time, my boot camp time. It's kind of like my opportunity to de-stress from the day, to kind of sweat out whatever you've got going on. And yeah, it's been awesome.
Awesome. Okay, so you said something too, like you get to de-stress, right? You get to, that mental, that physical, so those extra benefits there. Good. So anything else you want to share about what your life looks like now before I go in and ask you for a little bit of advice to share with anyone catching this here?
No, we can move on to the advice portion if you want.
Perfect. Okay. So what would you say then is the secret to your success? What has been key in your transformation?
It really boils down to just being consistent. Um, Consistent in your nutrition, in your workout plan, whatever that may be. And that also kind of also boils down to being honest with yourself. If you're working out maybe, once a week and then you're eating healthy on like Monday, then like Tuesday through Saturday, it kind of gets progressively worse. You're not going to see the results that you want to see or that you hope to see. So it really kind of takes like that come to Jesus moment, like, okay, what am I actually doing? Am I being honest with myself? Am I being consistent? And that's kind of what it boils down to. Nutrition wise, it's really been a lot of, everything in moderation. I center my meals around a lean protein, veggies, a carb, things like that. And also preparation. There's a quote I love that kind of goes like, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. So a lot of that boils down to meal preparation. Now, I'm someone, I don't do all my cooking on Sunday. I actually found a method that works for me because we only have two people in our house. It's me and my husband. So it's already hard to cook for two people, right? With the portions and whatnot. So I'm like, well, I'll just cook for four and that will be my lunch for the next day. And of course, there are times when life happens where maybe dinner just doesn't get made, whatever happens, whatever goes on. So then having a backup plan for the plan to make sure you don't go off the rails. So maybe that's a healthy restaurant like BAM or Clean Eats over in Perry. I love those places. That's a great place to get a quick meal that's healthy for you, or just having healthy stuff that you can take in your house in place of that. Also, as far as keeping myself honest, I log my food with MyFitnessPal. That way I know exactly what I'm eating, and also measuring portion sizes. It's really easy to, I think, underestimate, especially for myself, to underestimate like what I'm eating. So actually measuring things out, I'm like, okay, this is a half a cup or this is a full cup. And then that way I know exactly what I'm eating and how much and how often. The other thing is liquid calories. So things like, juice, full sugar pop. I love my Starbucks, but even that, can be a trip sometimes. So just limiting those and being conscious, because a lot of those are just going to be empty calories that aren't really doing a whole lot for your body, not doing much for fuel. So just kind of limiting those as much as I can also.
Love that. So you said being aware
Mhm.
and limiting, but you're not depriving yourself of any of those
Right.
things or any of those foods that you love. So just kind of keeping things in there. So
Mhm.
awesome takeaways there, right? The meal prepping. I love that. Other people have definitely heard me say that. That's something we try to do in our house too. Make
Mhm.
enough at dinner that's lunch for the next day, right? And like you said, have options in the freezer, grab and go stuff, or you have your go-to places. We actually went to BAM last night because
Oh, love BAM. Yeah.
right, and from there grab and go, right? And some grocery stores are offering healthier options like that too. And so obviously it's making sure we're eating enough too,
Right.
and not overeating, or like you said, getting it from empty calories. Now, as far
Mhm.
as like your workouts, would you say that you are like, this isn't like, are you like, this is an appointment, this is time for me, it's a non-negotiable, and so I'm going to get my workouts in? Is that kind of how you approach that as well?
Yeah, pretty much. And going back to like being consistent, I usually do the 4:30 class, but there are times where I might have evening meetings or something going on. And so then it's finding the time, whether it's in the morning or even just, by myself after all that, going for a walk or doing an at-home workout, just finding you can find 30 minutes. And it's really just what is important to you. You can watch 30 minutes of TV, or you can take that 30 minutes and get the workout in, or you can do it like at the same time. You can have the TV on and work out while you do that. So it's really just, and even I love how you guys do like the 10 minutes if you have to, like find 10 minutes here or 10 minutes there, even breaking it down further. So at least you're still moving and getting active.
Absolutely. Wow. So Zita, you're showing what a great student you are. So I got to give you a high five, because like you said, you're like, if I can't make my 4:30 session, and so like we all have our session, that's our regular session. You're
Mhm.
like, if I can't make my 4:30, I got to make the decision of, am I going to do it later? Am I going to go for a walk? Am I going to follow one of the written workouts that we send you? Because again, that's a added value that I don't know that any other studio does, that they send you written plans on top and give you virtual access, and you have the in-studio access, right? So many opportunities. But you also mentioned my 10-minute resource, right? That philosophy of, well, then just plug 10 minutes in here, plug 10 minutes in there. And that's a great way to get someone started. Or when we're going through those really busy, chaotic times, right? Pull out that 10-minute fitness challenge. So wow, Zita. So see, you're doing it. You're staying the course, right? You're trusting the process. But like you said, it all comes down to what's a priority, making
Right.
a conscious decision, right? And then deciding like, hey, I have to be consistent and my health is important. I love it because it doesn't sound like you're doing anything crazy, right? Because before, that's what happened. You couldn't sustain that. So you've been able to sustain this for a year. And so do you feel like this is now finally part of your lifestyle, something that you can sustain and
Oh
do?
yeah. Yeah. They say there's some quote out there that pretty much goes, it takes like 2 or 3 months to build a habit. And in those first beginning months, it's gonna be challenging. It's gonna be pretty tough because you're really implementing a whole new lifestyle change. But if you can get over that hump, now you've got a habit built, and now you've got that building block for building this for the long haul. And that's really kind of what it was for me. Because yeah, like I said before, this is a thing that I look forward to now. This is my time for me. It's my time for my health, more importantly. And this is an investment for me for the long term to be healthy, for my kids in the future, hopefully, for my husband and for me, most importantly.
Awesome. Love that you've recognized, because it's so hard for all of us to say like, oh, I feel bad doing things for myself, right? For you to say, no, this is an investment in my mental health, my physical health. I'm sure it's helped in your professional career. And like you said, an investment for your future family. So all these years ahead, laying that solid foundation. So good for you for making that choice and that decision. So it's been a year, and you brought up the tip of, how long it takes to create a habit. And just to share too is, whether somebody's brand new or been going for a while. So 4 to 12 weeks is when they say your body is starting to make neuromuscular connections, right? So like you were doing the one-on-one, recognizing I got to learn the form, I got to get, kind of back in condition, all that stuff. So 4 to 12 weeks. Well, typically at 16 weeks or 4 months too is when people might start to hit a plateau or feel like things aren't happening a whole lot. But research has actually indicated that after your 4-month mark of being consistent, like Zita said, is when you start to make the most changes. It's just they might not always be reflected on the scale because we might be building muscle, we might be losing inches, we might be building body fat, losing body fat. But research indicates, and you're halfway there, 2 years of consistent exercise and consistent lifestyle habits after 2 years is then when it's going to be a lot easier for you to maintain those results. And maintenance is a gift, right? Like we want to be able to maintain and keep doing what we're doing so that it always doesn't feel hard. And like Zita, like you said before, because before you were always striving, and that was mentally and physically breaking you down to the point that you regained all the weight back. So I think that's super, super important. So what would you say to somebody that's brand new, getting started on their fitness journey? Right now, they're sitting at home on the couch, kind of thinking about I should do something, or they know they have a doctor's appointment coming up and they haven't been exercising. What would you say to somebody getting started on their fitness journey?
Yeah. Another quote I love right now, it pretty much goes that you move a mountain by carrying away small stones. And that's really how I felt kind of restarting even before my first day coming in here is I'm looking up at this mountain like, oh my gosh, like I just went through this, losing all this weight. I've got to do it all again, plus more. This is going to be impossible. But if you think about, well, just one stone at a time, one goal at a time. So setting like micro goals. That's what I love that what you guys do here with like the 15-pound like boards, like every 15 pounds you sign the board. That I loved that. And I actually kind of carry that over now. So my goal that I just hit now is 75. So next one is 90, 100, so on and so forth. When you've got a huge amount or even a smaller amount to lose, when you break it down like that, it keeps you from getting too overwhelmed and too far ahead of yourself. And again, kind of going back to, finding what you can enjoy and stick to for the long haul. It really kind of boils down to that, anything that's going to be a quick fix is not going to be sustainable for you. So just finding a thing that you can do day in and day out that you enjoy. And really just, start with a small change and ramp up. It's overwhelming to kind of do everything all at once, like take away everything that's bad for you, focus on maybe cutting out pop first or cutting out whatever, and then kind of, ramping it up from there would be my advice.
So good. So good. Start small, start with one little stone, like you said, or a lot of times I say start by laying one brick, right, to build your foundation. So we talked about doing 10 minutes of exercise. Well, if 10 minutes is too much right now, start with 1 minute, right? And then 2 minutes. And I think that's what's hard. Would you agree for most people is we think too big sometimes.
Right. Oh yeah.
You said the micro goals. So being like, oh, I want to lose my first, if you have 30, 40 pounds to lose, focusing on that first 5 pounds, right? And like you said, okay, I can sustain this. I am doing it. I'm enjoying it. So that is awesome. Thank you so much. So last kind of question on the advice piece here is, what advice would you give to somebody who's currently on a fitness journey, but they're really feeling frustrated during their journey right now?
I would say, for me, it's finding the win in every day. So every day has a small victory inside of it. It's, can you find that and pull it out? It's easy to focus on the negative things, but maybe it's, I lifted 20 pounds, shoulder pressing, and I did 15 last week, or I held a plank for, a minute last week, and now I did a minute in 10 seconds. It's small things like that. As you progress and build on that, like you're going to get stronger, you're going to kind of progress in your fitness journey. I think also a lot of people kind of live and die by the scale, and like you should weigh in, but you shouldn't do it every day. And that can't be your only measuring stick for progress. So I typically do once per week. I do Wednesday usually is my weigh-in day. But also I've learned like the things that make your weight fluctuate are like insane. Like you could be really sore and that makes you like gain weight, quote unquote. You could be bloated, even like being on your period. All of those things can make it appear like you've gained weight when you really haven't. You're just, whatever's going on in your body is kind of flushing these things out. So it's also, like taking measurements, how are your clothes fitting, things like that. There are weeks where I don't lose anything and I don't gain, I just kind of like flatline. And there are weeks where I only lose half a pound, but I know my body is changing through all those things. And finally, I think like comparing yourself to other people, like I feel like a lot of people do that. And, everyone is on a different journey with a different end goal. So maybe like, person Z, maybe they're just trying to get stronger, but that's not what you're trying to do. So just remembering that we all started somewhere. When I first started, I mean, my first boot camp was a Saturday boot camp, and those are always pretty intense cardio ones. And I remember the people in my class were like powering through and like doing all this crazy stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's never going to be me. But, just being consistent and staying the course, here I am now. So yeah, just find the win in every day and, make every day great.
That is awesome. All right, everybody needs to write that down. Find the win in every day, right? Stop and celebrate the small successes, because clearly it shows, and no one likes to say this, oh, we need to change our mindset, but truly that's what a lot of your transformation is. You changed your approach, you changed your mindset, you gave yourself more grace when you needed it. You gave yourself a kick in the pants when you needed it, right? Like you were more honest and realistic, because again, going back, you shared how, oh, I'm running and I lost all my weight, but I still wasn't happy, right? So your mindset then is way different than now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And that's so key. And we don't realize how important that is, that if we are upset and negative, oh, I'm not losing weight, or, oh, this or that, right? Our body is going to produce more cortisol. It's going to actually make it harder for us. And it's like, we're also not honoring our body, right? We're not honoring what we can do today.
Right.
And so I love that you shared that about your story, that you were, and we all can relate to this, that you were like, what's next, and always having to one up it instead of being grateful for where you are right now, what my body can do today, and then measuring where you came from, right? Because a lot of times you said comparison, and that's a lot of times what people are doing. Well, I either remember what I used to be like here, or I want to go here, and we have a hard time within the middle, right? And that's what can bring us down. And so it sounds like, Zita, you're like, I am happy and grateful every day for how far I've come. I celebrate those small wins. So for those of you, it could be like, oh yeah, I drank enough water today, or I did get my 3 workouts, and celebrating that, because I love that you said we shouldn't use just the scale as our measuring stick, right? That is just our Earth's, our gravitational pull on the Earth, right? Like that's it. It's just a number. Yes, it's indicative of certain things, but like you said, that number can fluctuate. But if we fixate on that all the time, it's going to limit our ability to make progress forward. So anyway, Zita, I thank you so much. This has been fabulous. I'm sure everyone got lots out of this, and I would love to hear their takeaways. So I don't know if there's anyone, whether someone currently is a Summers Fitness client, or they're thinking about coming into Summers Fitness to get started too. Like what have you liked best about your experience with Summers Fitness? What would you say to someone who might be scared to walk through the door?
The thing I love best, and this is a thing that kind of I struggled with a lot when I was trying to do things on my own, is you walk in and that's all you've got to do is just show up. So the workouts are planned out for you. The equipment you need is going to be there. And even if you're not sure of like how to do a certain thing, and even a year later, I'll see things like, what is that? You still have coaches there who are going to help you, coach you through the movements. If you need a modification, they're going to help you with that also. And they're supportive. It's a really supportive environment, rather. Not journey. But yeah, and that was the thing I worried about when I was coming in, weighing 300 pounds, totally out of shape. I'm like, oh my gosh, like they're going to judge me. They're going to make fun of me. But no, everyone has been super supportive, fist bumps, high fives all around. And that kind of goes along with, everyone's on their own journey. People are focusing on them, but they're not worried about what you're not doing, because they're on their journey and you're on yours. So yeah, don't be afraid. You just got to dive in.
Awesome. So just like it says on the wall, achieve your personal best, right?
Definitely.
Everybody's on their individual journey. Well, I'm so glad that you feel supportive through both our coaches and obviously our community of other clients that come to the sessions. And that's what it's all about, right? Feeling supported, lifting you up or pushing you harder when you need
Right.
to. And then of course, having safe and fun and effective, workouts that fit your lifestyle. So thank you so much, Zita, for sharing your journey. And again, if there's anyone that has additional questions, let us know. Type down in the comments any takeaways. I'm sure Zita would be happy to answer as well. Or if you have a different shout out that you want to give, or hey, if you are watching this and you haven't been kind to yourself and you want to give yourself that little small celebration, find your win in today, that would be great too. That was a great takeaway with Zita. So thank you again, Zita, and to your continued health, happiness, and success.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Have a good one. We'll see everybody soon.